Welcome to PBIS at Home, Supports for Online Learning. We are Florida's positive behavioral interventions and support project. So we just want to give you some tips and strategies of things you can do at home. And I have with me today
Lauren Ivanovich, and we are going to cover some strategies that'll help you going in a positive manner.
So we're going to show you some videos of examples of different things that you can do at home as well. So are you feeling frazzled? You may feel like this is what your home current situation looks like. You may feel like this quarantine schedule on the right-hand side is what your current schedule looks like despite your best efforts for putting other things into place. So hopefully at the end of this little chat, you'll have some other ideas. So essentially our goal today is just to give you some ideas to actually enjoy this time at home with your child so that you're keeping sane and you're smiling at the end of the day.
And if you're not just smiling, at least maybe you might have learned a couple of things along the way. So we're going to cover for you these 5 steps for implementing PBIS at home, specifically when we're thinking about online learning. So we're going to go through steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 through developing a schedule, some home expectations, online teaching resources, a reinforcement system, and then that all coveted question, but what if my child doesn't want to participate?
So first up, we're going to talk about developing a schedule. By now, if you're on any sort of social media or if you have email, you've probably seen tons of different schedules that are out there. Here are some additional sample ones. The key here is to find what works for you and your family. Also keeping in mind that if you're going to go to online learning provided by your school district, they may have some sort of schedule for you as well. But again, make it work for your family. So here are some things to think about when you're making that schedule. Having a start time and end time. You might be early risers and you want to start at 7 a.m. Your family might like to sleep in and start at 10 a.m. Make sure it matches your work schedule if you're working at home. So for example, if you know every day at 1 o'clock you have a staff call that you have to jump in on, maybe that's a time where you let kids have screen time or silent reading so that that fits with what you're doing there. Make sure it's really important to build in those breaks and snack time. Lunch is important too, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And again, as I mentioned, if there are any requirements for the school district for online learning, so I know some school districts say that between a set time in the morning, say 8 to 8:30, you have to log in for attendance purposes. So those are some of those practical things. But to make the day go a little bit better, here are some other things you can do. Giving choice. So allowing your child to have a choice of order of activities maybe that they want to do. Including interest and preference. So what are their likes in different activities? Again, physical activity, moving. And of course, for our older kids who are connected to their friends through social media, this is a time to encourage that in an appropriate way. And we'll give you some different strategies for that one.
So when you're thinking about choice, there's lots of ways that you can do this. And you might be saying things like, oh my goodness, choice is just overwhelming to me. How do I do this? Well, giving options for ordering of your completing of tasks. So for example, if you're reading a book, you can read a book and then do your math or any other assignments that might have been provided by your school or district. You have to do both of those assignments. You have to read and you have to do math. It doesn't matter in which order you do them. Letting the students pick a book that they are interested in reading. If they are doing reading time, they don't have to necessarily read the same book. They can pick one that's up to them. That's a nice choice to give them. Let them pick how they want to show what they have learned. So do they need to draw a picture, write a play, sing a song, do a dance, create something that you might post in your house, or all of the variations of things. It doesn't just have to be one rote way. And then another example of giving choice would be give them the chance to pick when they want a break and what they want to do during that break. And we're going to give you a couple of examples of those.
So here's some different videos that we've put together showing some choice for students. So this one, a daily schedule, you'll notice in here with my son and his two friends that we're doing some online learning with or home learning with, we're going to give them some choice in their daily schedule.
We're going to finish what we've been doing. I'm going to tell you what we're doing today. So after we're done with this, you're going to do some reading and some math. Okay? You guys will get to choose if you want to do math or reading first. Then you don't do math. And then after that, we'll take a break and we'll do like what you do at recess. We can either go play basketball outside, throw a football around. If it's warm enough, we'll go in the pool. Then after that, we will do lunch. After lunch, we will come back and do either social studies or science. Then we'll take another like little recess break. And then from there, we'll do a fun afternoon school-like activity or project. This is your dream school, okay. So on the count of 3, I want you to do dab or do the floss or something. So 1, 2, 3.
So you can see in there they had two different choices. One, they could have chosen math and then do reading, or reading then math. The other opportunity for choice was when we talked about recess, that they would have an opportunity for recess. So you notice there wasn't a choice for everything throughout the day, and they had to do both math and reading, but the order was provided. Again, I gave them choices for things that I was comfortable with them having a choice for. If you don't feel comfortable giving them the choice, then don't provide that choice, but just another opportunity. Here's a second example of breaks. As adults, whenever we need a break throughout the day, a lot of times we just get up and take that break, permitting our job allows it. So this is an opportunity for the students or your kids to identify when they need breaks throughout the day.
I'm going to teach you what we call break cards, because sometimes when we're doing a lot of work and we're doing a bunch on the computer, you might get frustrated or you want to take a break. So in front of you, you've got 4 white cards. Count them. Make sure you got 4. 3, 4. So everybody's got 4. Thumbs up if you got 4. Okay, you got 4. Okay, so what these break cards are for is you're going to get certain breaks throughout the day, but sometimes you might just want a break. So if you give me a break card, that means you get a 5-minute break, and then you get to come back and finish what you're doing. Now, that's good. Okay. Now you got 4 to use throughout the day. At the end of the day, if you don't use all 4 of them, say you still have 3 of them left, that means you get done with school 15 minutes early, 5 minutes for every card. Now, if you need a break, I might say, Emilio, you're really frustrated right now. You need a break, and you might have to give me one, and that's okay. Okay. But remember, when you need a break, if you get frustrated, you give me a break card, you get 5 minutes of a break. Okay? You guys got it? Okay.
So you can see with this break card, they have the ability to choose when they need a break, but also as the adult, I might identify that there are times that they need a break. But there's also a motivation for them that if they don't use all their break cards, they get done a little bit early at the end of the day. And I have to tell you, my son really likes to save his break cards and get done at the end of the day. He likes to use it to buy screen time. So that's working for us.
We're going to finish what we're going to do.
So regardless of what you're thinking about, it's really important to think about what are your students interested, or your kids interested in, or what's their preference. So you might ask yourself, what does your child like to do? And use their interests to get them learning. So here's a ton of various examples, and this is not an exhaustive list, although there's a lot on here. So some really creative examples that we have seen is art. Draw a cartoon retelling the story that you might have just read during reading time. Cooking, plan a meal for the family. Identify ingredients for the main meal and how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost to make the meal. A good friend of mine is doing every day there's a different animal of the day, and it also, because her son loves animals, and so they're learning about a various animal, and they're starting with all of the ones that they might see in their backyard. So they go on a hunt to find the animal, they read about the animal, they do an internet research about the animal, They create their math problems involving the animal, and then they end with writing a story about all the facts and the things that they've learned throughout the day, and then presenting something on a Facebook video or Instagram video to tell, you know, all of their fans, they've created them to be fans of her son's school, to learn about that animal of the day.
It's important for activity. So you'll notice I give them the break cards for activities, but just keep in mind that our elementary age students are used to getting that 15 minutes of recess every day. It's important for them to get that break. It's hard for them to sit still for long, long periods of time. But also keep in mind, if you've got middle school or high school students, that class changes anywhere from 45 to 50 minutes typically, and then they have a 5-minute break in between class, maybe 6 depending upon the school. So they're given that time. So just keep that in mind that they do need those breaks. There's lots of ways of doing those breaks. Sometimes it's a brain break. Our elementary school students like Go Noodle. That's a fun way. I showed you some break cards in a second with some fun activities. Just even going outside and doing some different things with the kids. You can also Google yoga for kids or workout for kids, and there's tons of those now if you want some more physical activity. But again, our older kids are really into TikTok right now. Have them come up with a TikTok, maybe dance video as well.
And a lot of these things are free of charge, especially now that you might be able to find some new things off of YouTube as well.
So here's an example of a brain break called Go Find It.
Okay, you guys have been reading for like 15 minutes so quietly now, so we're going to take a little break. So take your book, fold the page over so you know where you guys work, and we're going to pick back up, and we're going to take a little quick break. Got your pages folded over? Okay, put it on the desk. Okay, so we're going to do a game called I Can Find It. Also, it's like a treasure hunt? Kind of like a treasure hunt. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something. You need to go find it and bring it back here, okay? I need you guys each to find something that is the color purple and bring it back to me. Something that's the color purple. Here. You got it? You found a mark? Sit down. Once you have it, find it and sit down. Okay, Daniel's still looking. He's finding something. Okay, so Nolan, what did you find?
A giant purple alien.
Giant purple alien? Daniel, what did you?
All
Right, one person at a time talking.
I found Steven. I took off his body head, and now I just have purple pants.
Purple Lego pants, and Amelia, what did you find?
Right here.
A purple pen. Okay, so we'll go put your stuff back that you found. And now you have to find something that starts with the letter F. Find something that starts with the letter F. Okay, I found it. What did you find, Emilio? What did you find?
Football.
What did you find?
Football.
I find something coming. Okay, so I'm going to have you go.
So you can see it was quick and it was short, but it got them up and moving and using their brain. And then they came back to what we were working on. It's
If
also,
you have any older students or even yourselves, it's really nice to, one, have a break from technology, but then also have that designated time to have connection to social media. So this is a fun little technology box in which we put everything that is connected to our technology that we are not using at this time. So we'll know that there are some guidelines up front. So if technology goes in a tech box. That way we also know which technology we'll need for when we're learning. Do we need to use our iPad? If we need to use our iPad, it's only used on these websites, not necessarily to go onto Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of those other social media pieces. During breaks, those scheduled breaks, or if they, as Stephanie was talking about, earn more additional time to go onto their technology, they can use those for their technology box for those. And then we can add that daily schedule as well. It's important to factor that in because we know that students and kids and people are going to want to use them anyway.
So the second step after you have a schedule is develop what we call a home expectations matrix. So here's some questions.
Your child might have one at school, and if they do, so some of our school ones, Stephanie, right, might be safe, be respectful, be responsible.
Yep.
Now, we want to make sure that those, if they work for us, that we use them. But we also want to think about, do those match to your family core values? So Stephanie, do you want to share a little bit there?
Sure. What we mean here is there are things that are maybe important to your family. So you'll see in a second at our home, it's be kind, it is to be patient, it is to be safe, and it's to be responsible. Those are our 4 home expectations. My son's school has some different ones, and I'm not opposed to them, and I like them. But at home, I really think about being kind and being patient. So we switched a little of them there for our house.
So whether or not we use the ones that are basis of the ones that our students are using at their school, or we've created our own family core value-based expectations, we want to then define with your children what these look like at home. So you might use a family meeting or a circle to develop those. You may have them set for the whole day, or they're different between activities. So mealtime, they may look one way, online learning, chores, times with their siblings, alone time, time when parents need to be working from home. What do those expectations look like? And they should be clearly defined and still taught. That part's hard whenever we find ourselves as new teachers for our students and for our children. So making sure that we have created those together will really help you to be successful.
So we're going to see an example of us setting up what our home expectations look like for learning at home. I made a little note here. I personally, as a parent, had come up with be responsible, be patient, and be kind. And it was actually my son who said, I want to add be safe. So we added that. So in this video, you'll get to see us developing what these look like during home learning time.
At my house, Daniel and Nolan and Emilio all the time, we have 4 things we have to be if we're doing school stuff. We have to be safe, we have to be responsible, we have to be patient, and we have to be kind. So what we're going to do now is we will start with Nolan's be patient. Nolan, what is one example of being patient if you're doing school at my house? What would you have to do? What would it look like to be patient?
That if we were, if I liked math, which I totally don't, and it was in a few hours, I would have to wait.
So wait calmly. Okay, so write wait calmly on there. I don't care about spelling. Just write wait calmly. Okay, just pick one. Okay, so he's writing wait calmly. Daniel, if we're doing school, what does it look like to be responsible?
Put things back where you found them.
Okay, so put things back where they belong. Write that one down. Okay. And Amelia, what would it look like to be safe?
Be safe, not to injure anybody.
Okay, so maybe keep your hands to yourself. Okay, so right, keep your hands to yourself. And then for me, being kind is to use nice words. We're going to write ours.
This was right.
Wait calmly. Okay, so we're going to wait for everybody to finish, and then we're going to rotate them so everybody gets the opportunity to have an example.
Now I'm going to make number 2.
Okay, so I'm going to pass mine to Nolan. Nolan, you're going to pass yours to Daniel. Daniel, you're going to pass yours to Emilio. Then I'm going to pass mine. Okay, so we started with Nolan last time. We're going to start with Daniel this time. What does it mean to be patient? Give me an example of be patient if you're doing schoolwork.
Wait for your turn on the playground.
Just wait for your turn. Okay, Emilio, what is it to be responsible?
It's like when you raise your hand to have a mature response.
Okay, a mature answer. I like that. To me, being safe is cleaning up. So we don't trip or fall over toys or anything. Okay, what's an example of be kind?
Like if somebody got the books, you could
Help pick them up?
help them.
Okay, so help. Okay. When you're done, we're going to rotate again. Yeah, we're going to pass. So you're going to get one you haven't gotten. Nolan's finishing his, okay? Okay, so we're going to pass that to Daniel.
People might need it.
Okay, so Emilio, you're going to get to go first this time. What's a different example of be patient?
Is that when the teacher raises when you're raising your hand, make sure you not speak out all at once.
Okay, only one person talks at a time?
Yes.
Okay. Under my be responsible is complete your work. Okay, Nolan, which one do you have? Okay, what's the thing for be safe? If you can't think of one that's not already on there, it's okay, but I think you can. Do you want to help Nolan? Okay, can he help you, Nolan? Okay, what's one he can do? Just tell him because he can write it.
Recess, it's from ride, don't go to the times, and don't push somebody off like the playground.
So take turns?
Yes.
Okay, so take turns. Okay, Dan.
So we continued, we passed turns. Everybody got the opportunity to give us an example of what each of those expectations look like at school. You notice the kids had a little bit of a hard time of thinking about school at home, and they kept mentioning recess or playground, and I don't really have a playground at my house, so we kind of reworded it. You may have also picked up when they would say things like not taking your turn or pushing somebody. I reworded that to what I wanted them to do, so it was positively stated. So like keeping your hands to yourself or taking turns.
So this is an example of home expectations that were just kind of covered. But for example, be responsible, be safe, be patient, be kind. These are now broken across activities. So you can see in the top categories, what does this look like when parent, mom, dad, family member is on a conference call? Find a quiet activity to do. Perhaps you have a list of activities that you've come up with that they can do that are appropriate for quiet time. Staying inside is being safe. If you have a question, you ask yourself, is it an emergency? If not, wait, or ask the other parent if there is one at home or another adult or an older sibling. And be kind, say, okay, if mom and dad says no, to maybe help the argumenting that might happen. So these are other examples of what it looks like when online learning. Again, make sure that you're thinking about what your school, your district is providing to you for online learning options. What does this look like when doing chores? And what does it look like when asked to go to bed?
So the next thing is you've developed them. You notice that there was equal involvement when I did that with Nolan and Daniel and Emilio. So after we did that, we needed to post them. So we just took some white paper and we wrote them on there. You may have noticed that I didn't really care about spelling, but we posted them and we review them all the time. Also maybe reviewing them right before an activity that you might find might be challenging for your child. Maybe if math is something that they struggle with, so right before you do that math activity, or if let's just say right before you ask them to do a chore, or right before bed, they usually have a little bit of an issue, then reminding them again. But we also want to make sure that when we see the behavior being demonstrated that we want, that we acknowledge it. So here's an example. Emilio, thank you for using kind words when talking to Daniel. We also can use it when we see your child not following one of them and prompt them and remind them what you want to see. So I will give you a little note here. This one is a real one. Right after we were making these videos, the boys went outside to play football for recess. And when they came back in, Nolan had gone to his house and got a scooter and decided to ride it inside my house. So I had to tell him, Nolan, it is not safe to ride a scooter in the house. You need to put on your helmet and ride it outside. So I reminded him what the expectation was and where he could do it.
So now we're going to move on to step 3, which is identifying online teaching resources. First of all, we want to again stress that our biggest recommendation is to reach out to the school, district, your teacher, where your child attends the school, and find out what they're offering. If they have not yet sent something out, there are some questions here you might want to consider asking. Can you check out technology like a computer or a tablet? How about access to online connectivity like internet services? Some districts have made agreements or might make agreements with internet providers so that all schools and students have equitable resources. How do you access the online learning system? What are they using as their online learning system? What are the recommended times? So some of the teachers or schools might say every morning at 9:30, we're going to do an everyone on Zoom call, or we're going to have a Facebook Live in order to say what our expectations or our quick check-in are for the day. So asking when those are happening. Other districts other schools may have it be that you're expected to be online from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day, and there's a set of activities that are guided. That just might differ, and you'll want to make sure we find out what those recommendations are from your school, your teacher, or your district. Another question to ask is, does the school or district provide access to any free websites or apps? Some here examples are Prodigy, Epic, Hoopla for their students. And does your district or school have recommendations for websites that they would like for you to use for fun learning activities? We've also included here 2 free websites with daily activities for students across K-12, Scholastic and Khan Academy. We have so many resources, and we do not want to overwhelm you. It is so easy to be overwhelmed that we don't want you to feel like there's so much out there we don't even know where to start. First, you should always start with reaching out to your school, your teacher, your school, and your district.
And again, if you want some supplemental things, I say start with 1 or 2. These are just 1 or 2 we've put out there. If you're on social media, you've probably seen a zillion thrown at you of other 3 free resources for things. Maybe go back and to that interest. If your child is interested in marine biology, we've been doing one from a Key Center down in the Keys. But if your child's not in marine biology, maybe that's not for you. Maybe you can find an art activity online. So I'd say limit and just pick 1 or 2 additional things if you want some other things for your child to be doing. So the next step is setting up a reinforcement system. The reason we do that is we just want to recognize our kids for the efforts they're doing. There's so much new to us right now. Our kids may be stressed and confused as to what's going on. And they just need a little bit of a reassurance, especially now that they're having to do work at home. So here's just some things to recognize them for doing their good job, some sentences you can do. Maybe each time they're finished with a task based on their age of the student, you might want to do a high five, a fist bump, or just tell them they're doing a good job. We may even want to set up a system where they can earn some privileges. So maybe every time they finish an assignment, they get a point, and then at the end of the day, they can exchange their points for some different things. So here's an example of that. Here's maybe a daily schedule that I've set up, and you'll notice there are 5 times throughout the day that there's 5 academic activities they're doing: reading and writing from 8 to 9, science and learning something new 9 to 10, math activity 1 to 2, another activity time for 3 to 4, and then creative time. So maybe if they successfully, or when they successfully complete each one of those, they can earn a point, and then at the end of the day, they can turn those points in for fun little things. These are things that I put on here that would be interesting to my child. So my child loves screen time. He also likes to stay up past bedtime. He likes game time, and he also likes to pick what we eat for dinner. So those are things that would be motivating for my child. I would suggest you asking your own kids what would motivate them. One of our coworkers put together a little incentive box, and one of the things in there was a charger for their tablet, so they can earn that tablet charger. Find out what your kids want. It doesn't have to cost anything. You can see all the things on there are free. My child has a chore every day. His chores are unloading the dishwasher, but maybe if he offers to do an additional chore like cleaning the bathroom, he can get bonus points. They pick at the end of the day based on the number of points they have, and then the next day they start over again for earning things. Again, you pick what is interesting for your child. If you're not sure, just ask them what they want to earn.
And I would say really quickly to add to that, yes, it's awesome to have things that they want, but they might have or want things that you aren't okay with. So just make sure that those are all things. So like the example that Stephanie gave, picking something for dinner, she's also fine with her son picking that for dinner. If you're not okay with them having 30 minutes extra of screen time, don't allow that to be an option. Pick something else that you're okay with them having as well.
Good ideas, Lauren.
And finally, step 5, what to do when your child just doesn't want to participate.
Well, hopefully the first thing you do is prevent it from happening in the first place. And so by putting some of these things in place, like having that routine with those choices and interest involved, hopefully that will prevent it. Again, making tasks fun, so those interest things they would put in place, and some choice. Hopefully by putting those things up front, it will reduce your child from not wanting to participate. But if they still don't want to participate, here's 2 additional strategies you can try.
So the first is a timer or a countdown. So for example, you'll tell the child up front how much time they have left before going back to an activity. This is usually during playtime, lunchtime, or if you have an activity that they're doing, such as baking, Legos, that they have, say, 10 minutes left before it's time to set a timer, and then tell them when they have 10 minutes on the timer. At 5 minutes, give them a 5-minute warning, and then 1 minute, let them give a 1-minute warning. This is to help with that transition. Perhaps it's from a preferred activity to one maybe that they don't really enjoy doing. So for me, I would really have a hard time transitioning from reading to doing a math activity because I'm not as strong in math as I am in reading. So that would be something I would want to know. Okay, I only have 5 more minutes left in my reading, my preferred activity. Now I get to go down and have to transition. So here's another example from Stephanie and Emilio that they have 1 hour for lunch. So setting that right away from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock is our lunch time. At 12:50, Emilio, I'm setting a cell phone timer for 10 minutes. Then you will have to do your math. Emilio and I are on that same page. At 12:55, he has 5 more minutes of lunch. Emilio, at 12:59, you have 1 more minute until math. At 1 o'clock, Emilio, you'll need to come to the table, so we're prompting him to do math. Remember, you are working towards earning your point for privilege at the end of the day, which is a nice incentive reminder to say that there's an end to that and we're continuing to work.
This is also a great strategy for older students. If we're giving them like a technology break where they can pick up their cell phone and text friends, giving them up front and telling them you have 10 minutes to do your texting. You've got 5 minutes. You're probably here like, you don't have to remind me. Yeah, you do, because then you're setting that standard and expectation for them.
And setting a timer is really important because sometimes 5 minutes becomes, oh, when did I say it was 5 minutes? But if you have that timer, it's accountability.
And the last one is first then. First you do something that you don't want to do, and then you get to do something that you want to do. So you'll see in this example, Nolan is playing with Legos. He has to stop to go to reading time, which he doesn't want to do. But I let him know that as soon as he's done with his reading time, then he can go back to his Legos. So let's watch.
Okay, Nolan, it's time to put the Legos away.
No, I don't want to.
Oh, I'm very disappointed that you talked to me that way. because I know you're a kind young man. When you put the Legos away, then afterwards, you can pick back up when we're done with reading, okay?
So you can see there, I reminded him what the expectation was, and let him know in advance that he could go back to Legos. It's not like he was never going to go back. He just had to do something first. So here's with his reading.
Okay, Nolan, you have 1 more minute, and then after you're done reading Bad Kitty, you can go back to your Legos that you stopped with earlier, okay? You have 1 more minute, and then you'll get to play with your Legos again, okay? Okay.
So you can see there, again, I used the other strategy too. He had 1 more minute, so he knew that he was getting close to what he really wanted to do, which was play with his Legos.
So when you're finding yourself where your students are hopefully prepared and willing to work, you have many things to check for yourself. Have you established a routine? Are the tasks fun and provide choice? Have you started thinking about that first then, as we just went through, allowing preferred activities to follow less preferred activities, providing and incorporating choice throughout the day, and using that timer or countdown strategy?
So you may have a child who wants to snack all day. I'm hungry, I want a snack. So I saw this on social media. I thought it was a really cool idea. And so the parents set up little containers with what the kids were allowed to snack with all day. And once it was gone, it was gone. We know that they don't snack throughout the school day all day. Another parent I saw took some money out of a board game and put a value on all the snacks in the home. And of course, something that was like potato chips had a higher point value than maybe an apple or a granola bar. And then the child spent the money throughout the day for the snacks. And when the money was gone, there was no more snacks. And that was it. So overall, this is a very difficult time. It's a different time for us. And we just remember that during this time, just to try to have fun, and it's okay to be silly. So here's another example of one of those brain breaks we did. It's called Would You Rather?
Okay, you guys ready for another little break? Okay, put your markers down, put your tops down, put your markers down.
Put your
Top on and put your marker down or pen down. You ready, Nolan? And then you guys, we're gonna just do a quick break and then you guys can go back to it. Okay, so we're gonna play a game, Would You Rather? Okay, so I'm gonna start with you, Daniel, and then we'll go around. Daniel, would you rather eat a bowl of cereal with ketchup or a bowl of cereal with mustard?
ketchup.
Ketchup. Amelia, would you rather eat cherry tomatoes or have peanut butter?
I can actually stand a cup of peanut butter, but I don't like it though.
So you would rather do peanut butter? Nolan, would you rather would you rather
Pretty much like everything.
eat a bowl of spaghetti with peanut butter? Or a bowl of spaghetti with mustard? Mustard. I know, those are kind of gross. Someone want to ask me, who wants to ask me, would you rather? Emilio, I like how you raise your hand without yelling out.
Would you rather eat a bowl full of Reese's Pieces, but have it full of mustard and milk?
So a bowl of Reese's with mustard or a bowl of Reese's with milk?
Yeah.
A bowl of Reese's with milk. You want to ask me one? Would you rather?
Would you rather jump in the pool in winter when it's almost at 0 degrees, or would you rather would you rather drink water out of the chlorine pool
Oh,
at winter?
At winter, probably jump in the pool. 0. Nolan, what's would you rather? You can ask me one.
Would you rather get hit by a car or a chair?
Probably a chair.
I would get hit by a car.
So you can see we just had fun at Would You Rather. They each got an opportunity for me to ask them a kind of a silly question, and then they got an opportunity to ask me, but you'll notice that I only called on the one that had their hand nicely raised first without yelling out. And I let them know that that was my expectation. So that's it. We hope that you got some different ideas of strategies that you could use at home. If you want more information, we are Florida Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. So if you just Google Florida PBIS, we're going to have some more resources there. Thank you for joining us.